Hi, I'm Chad Coker from Apple Tree Automotive. In today's video we're going to show you some of the CV joints that we carry and how to identify them and how to overhaul them and even strengthen them up to help you out on the trail. First of all, we've got a Type 1 CV joint. This is the smallest of what we sell. This CV joint's 90 millimeters across. One of the things that you're going to want to check when you call us and want to order CV joints is actually what style you have. This particular one has a groove all the way around the outside that is meant to recess in to the stock drive flange. The next one over is a Type 2 VW bus CV. This is 100 millimeters. Still 33 spline, like the Type 1, is a really common conversion to change the drive flanges out and replace the smaller Type 1 with the larger Type 2. Now both of these still use 8 millimeter bolts. The next one that I've got here is a 930 Porsche Cv. Now you'll notice it's a lot bigger and the spline count inside is actually different. This now is 28 millimeters on the spline. And from not just a difference in the spline, but we've actually got a bolt difference here too. This is 3/8. We use a 3/8 24 fine thread. So don't put your 8 millimeter in there, you'll wreck your drive flange. But these are much bigger. This is one of the most popular upgrades for off-roading. And last, we've got the same 930 CV joint. This one's actually got a chromoly cage, and it's been clearanced in the ball area to give you a little bit more wheel travel. Now, starting from the Type 1, the Type 2 to the 930, they're increasing travel distances before the center spline bottoms out. This CV right here will give you about 25 degrees of angle on your CV joint. Anything more than that, you'll start having binding issues and your balls will fall out of the cage. Now with our Type 2 trailing arm kit, you'd get these CVs right here, or you can upgrade to the 930 CVs in our kit, which is definitely a recommendation that we make. Now one of the things I'm going to show you that will help you out down the road, if you have some 930 CVs, or even the Type 1 and the Type 2 CVs have this option, is replacing this center cage, because that's the weakest part of the whole drivetrain. And what will happen is this center cage will pivot and put a really hard load right here on that cage, and it'll end up snapping. A couple reasons for that. One will be over traveling your CV, which is letting the arm go way too low. And number two, being under power if your wheels come off the ground and reconnect. It just shocks the CV and they'll break right here. Now we're going to show you how to upgrade the CV joints so that you get a little more strength when you're out off-roading or in the trail. And this is a great upgrade, definitely recommended if you've already got 930 CV joints. If you're starting fresh and you're calling us up, we'll probably recommend the one that's already got the chromoly cage in it, depending on what exactly you're going to be doing with this car. Now we're going to take this stock 930 CV joint and we're going to take the center cage out of it. Again, that's the weakest part of the whole setup, and this one right here, the steel one, will break when the angle becomes too great. So one thing I'm going to recommend is figure out a way, as you take this thing apart, to catch the CV balls inside there. And we're going to just let them fall inside this box. Just rotate the cage around, and they'll all fall out. The cage and the center star will come out. The center star is a little trickier to get out. You've got to get it at just the right spot inside the grooves. Now one little area that you're going to want to watch when you're putting this thing back together is the alignment of the center star in the outer CV. As you can see on this, you've got a high point, a high point, and a high point, and you can see there's different widths. There's a real wide one and a real narrow point. Now when you go to put the center star back in, you can see it has the same thing, a wide point and a narrow point. Now when you put these back in, you're going to want to line up the wide point with the skinny point. Just like this. You'll know right away if you screw it up, because this will bind up and won't even rotate. So again, make sure the wide point is lined up with the skinny point. Now we're going to take our 930 CV cage. We're going to get our star back in the center. We're going to get a ball in there to start. This can be a little tricky, so take your time, keep working at it. And don't be surprised if you have to do this a couple times to get all the balls in properly. I start with one in there and rotate the side up. Put your next ball in the cup. Let that roll in. And carefully work your way around, holding it by the bottom, so that they don't fall out the bottom. Now the last couple get to be a little more difficult as the CV gets tighter. But there you go. Now this is all back together. See how nicely that thing moves? And now we've got a very strong chromoly cage in there, which will provide you that extra little bit when you're out jumping and trail riding. One other thing to note, these CV balls come in different sizes, and the smaller you get, the more travel you get, and the looser this fit becomes. As you can see, the Type 1 has a really tight center cage, very hard to move, where these 930s have a real loose center cage. And again, if you misalign these points, this thing will not move. This won't float around in here, so you'll know right away that you've screwed it up.